What's going on YouTube? It's Daquan with Credit Monster, where we talk about everything credit. If that's something you into, please consider liking the video. Now, back in 2019, there was a study by a real estate group, and they discovered that over 70% of Americans cannot pay their debt off within that year. And that was back in 2019. Now, we know what happened in 2020 and 2021. Yes, the pandemic. A lot of people lost jobs. A lot of people suffer financially. So if those same 70% of Americans couldn't pay their debt off in 2019, they definitely wasn't paying it in 2020. So they probably have charge-offs at this point. And that's why I'm making this video, because I'm going to show y'all how to get those pesky charge-offs off that credit report. Let's go. If you find this content valuable, please do me a favor, like, comment, and share so we can help as many people achieve their financial goals. Now let's get to the information. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is what exactly is a charge-off. Now, a charge-off, you might see it on your credit report. It might say charge-off/collections. Now, that's an interchangeable term. Charge-off, collections, they're really two different things, but within the same wheelhouse. Let me explain. If you have a credit card or a car note, any type of debt product, and you didn't pay it in like 90 days, normally what they do is they'll charge it off, saying that there's going to be no more fees, there's not going to be no more interest attached to this account. Before they charge it off, they put all these fees, all late payment fees, late this, late that, interest, all that. They put it all on there, and then they're basically saying to the IRS that they cannot collect this debt. So what they'll do is they'll write it off as a tax deduction because they no longer could collect this debt. Meaning is basically dead weight. So what they have the opportunity to do at that point is they could just keep it on your credit report, because they would never take it off your credit report. 7.5 years is the statute of the credit report, and they might take it off after that. But like I said in a different video, credit reporting agencies are notorious for keeping stuff on because they want you to have bad credit. The company that actually charged off the debt will sell that bill that you owe to another agency, a collection agency, for pennies on a dollar. So for example, if you owed $1,000, they could potentially sell that to a different company for $10, and then whatever the collection agency, they call your phone, they send you letters, they threatening you, harassing you, you pay them about $500, let's say you settle for half, and they make that $490 profit. That's kind of like a simplification of it, but that's kind of how it works. But sometimes the companies, the big banks or whatever, they don't even go ahead and sell that debt fast enough. They just keep it on your credit report, and that's considered a charge-off, versus the other example that I told you about is considered a collections. Right now we're talking about charge-off. This could also work for collections. Now, the second thing you should think about is whether you should pay this charge-off or should you go ahead and dispute for deletion. Now, it's really three main factors on deciding this. The first factor is the age. How old is the account? If it's 10, 15 years old, it may be better just to pay it, settle it, and pay it. Which I have a video on how to settle in the description below. But it may be better to settle it if it's 10, 15 years old, if it's the oldest account on your credit report, because if you get this off your credit report, it's going to make the age of your credit lower, and that could be damaging to your credit score. So be mindful of that. If the account isn't that old, or you have a whole lot of old accounts, and it won't really matter if you took this one old account off, then that's a go for disputing. The other factor is, what is it within the statutes of limitations? Now, I have another video about that too, but different states have different statutes of limitations, whether a collection agency could collect on his debt or not. If it's within the statutes of limitations, you have less power, because if you go ahead and aggressively dispute this, you could possibly be sued by the collection agency or the creditor to get their money. However, if the statute of limitation is expired, then they cannot legally go ahead and sue you. They may bluff and say they're going to sue you, but you could easily prove that the date of last activity is, like here in the state of Pennsylvania, it's 5 years. The statute of limitations 5 years for mostly all the credit styles. And if I could say, hey, the date of last activity is at least 5 years old, that means they cannot legally sue me. They cannot legally collect on this debt. Okay, so just be mindful of that. The other thing is, do you have the finances? Do you have the money to actually pay it? Obviously, that will be a large factor if you actually have the money to go ahead and pay it or not. If you don't have the money, that might be the biggest determining factor. Hey, I have no other option but to dispute it. But if you do have the money, really consider those first two things that I said, the age and the statutes of limitations. Now, we're not going to dispute it online. That's a no-no. We're not going to dispute it on by calling them. That's a no-no. We're going to write a letter on Google Word or Microsoft Word, whatever you prefer. We're going to type up a letter, we're going to print it up, and we're going to send it snail mail. Yes, snail mail. We're going to send it that way. That is the best way to preserve your rights with the FCRA, and that's what's actually helping us get this thing off of our credit report. It's a law that was passed in 1970 called the FCRA, and this is to prevent the credit agencies from misusing your information, misusing your data to misrepresent you, and making sure that they uphold 100% accuracy of your credit report. You can't just sit back and expect your credit report to be 100% accurate. It's too many mistakes that can happen. So you have to monitor your credit, and I'm gonna have some good credit, some professional credit monitoring services in the description below, so you could go ahead and follow along. What we're basically doing when we're disputing a charge off is we're going to actually look at the charge off and see the inaccuracies, spot the inaccuracies. The date of last activity, is it matching with all three bureaus? The date of last payment, is it matching with all three bureaus? Hey, they got this information from the same creditor, so it should be matching with all three bureaus. And if it's not, that's an inaccuracy because it's inconsistent on your credit report. And any inconsistencies and inaccuracies is a violation. It's basically a violation. Really, it's not a violation yet until you dispute it, and if they don't do nothing about it, then it becomes a violation. Okay, y'all, so this is a collections. Collections and charge-offs work pretty much the same way. They're just different when it comes to terminology. But let's go ahead and write a letter. Okay, so the beginning of it, you know, obviously is going to be your first and your last name. Whatever is on your ID. If your middle name is on there, then put your middle name. If your middle initial is on there, put your middle initial, because you're going to submit your ID with the letter. So as you can see, I put my Instagram. Go ahead and follow me on there. Then your address and your social. You can put the last four, but preferably the whole social, so they can know who you are. And then you have the address that you sending it to, TransUnion, or it could be Experian, or it could be Equifax. Be aware that those are not the only credit agencies. There's actually more, but they're the main ones, so that's why we talk about them a lot. Okay, so we're looking at this account right here. This let's see, we're looking at this account right here. This is just a snippet of the collections, and as you can see, we have some inaccuracies. The date of last activity, which is huge. Remember, the date of last activity determines when it will naturally fall off your credit report. As you can see on this left side, that's TransUnion. TransUnion actually reports it as 5/7/2021, and then Experian, which is in the middle or the right side right here, says 5/1/2018. That's a huge discrepancy right there. So that's grounds for deletion. We're going to actually challenge it. We're going to write a dispute. So when you write a letter, you want to open it up. So you write an opening statement. It could be basically anything. I'm just going to write something simple. Okay. Just to let y'all know, it doesn't have to be perfect grammar or nothing like that. So the first thing you want to put is the account. So let's just make an example of the account. You don't have to put the XXXX stuff that you normally see, the censorship. You don't have to put that. Just put what is on the credit report for that particular agency or bureau. Same thing. So let's go ahead and say, you always want to start out with what you want to happen. Please delete this account, or please update this account. Right now we're going for deletion, so please delete this account. It's that simple, y'all. Please delete this account because the date of last activity reported by you, which is TransUnion, is 5/7/2021, and the date of last activity reported by Experian is 5/1/2018. That means that something is wrong. They have to do an investigation. If they can't come up with a determination, they have to delete it. It's that simple, y'all. And that's just one example of an inaccuracy out of plenty of different examples that could be inaccurate. Like, okay, y'all, so that's how you get them pesky charge-offs off your credit report. Better believe that it may take a few different attempts to get this off your credit report. They may not automatically just take it off because you basically prove that they should investigate it. The credit bureaus are notorious. They're so notorious for ignoring people, for not taking things off, and that's why we have other avenues that we're going to get into, like a CFPB complaint or attorney general complaint, or even just filing a lawsuit, because these are violations. They are misrepresenting you, and that's not right, and that's also against the law. So we're going to use the law. The law is on our side to get what we need to get to, where we need to get to in life. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Please, again, consider liking this video and sharing this video to a friend so people can live their financial dreams. This is Daquan with Credit Monster, and I'll talk to y'all next time.